Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to give my herbs a quick trim. They are in need of a quick prune because they're going to flowering or bolting stage. We don't want that. We want them to produce more and more leaves, so we need to indicate that by pruning them. I'll be pruning some of my herbs today, but there is no way I can consume all of them fresh. So we go for the proven traditional method of air drying them and preserving them for a long use. I'm also planning to freeze some of my herbs, so let's see how that turns out. So today let us dive into a fresh and fragrant topic of storing and preserving herbs. Let us first go to the garden and harvest the herbs. I don't have many varieties in my garden. Currently, I'm growing a lot of basil, some lemon mint, and rosemary. That is all. It is recommended to harvest any crop, be it a herb or a vegetable for that matter, early in the morning after the dew has dried and before the sun gets too hot. This is when the essential oils are at its peak. Drying herbs helps to retain their flavors and aromas, making them perfect for use all around the year. I see this as one way to extend our harvest for use in winter. Plus, it is a great way to save money and reduce waste. Now we have all the herbs harvested. First step would be to give them a quick wash. So I'll see you after I wash them off. So now I'm done washing my herbs. It smells amazing in here. Next, I'm going to remove any dead or damaged leaves. I could have done that before washing, but I forgot. So we'll be doing that now. We don't want these dead and damaged leaves for our drying, so I'm going to remove that. After removing this, we'll wait for a couple of hours for the water to evaporate, and then we'll start the drying process. The lemon mint has also got these flowers. Maybe I can show you a bigger one. So I'll dry them separately. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe in a basket. I'll show you when I dry them. But I'm going to separate it. It's harder than I imagined. Usually the flowers are really delicate. Better to dry them separately. It smells really wonderful here. I wish you could smell through the video. Maybe someday that will also be possible. I'm mainly removing the dead and damaged leaves from my mint because the lower leaves are yellowing and I'm just planning to preserve just the top leaves. The basil looks okay, the rosemary as well. I think I am a bit late in harvesting the mint. That is why there is a lot of damaged leaves. I can remember in May the mint was looking really green and lush, and at that time I did not do that. So now we work with what we have, but that's also fine because I don't use much mint, maybe only while cooking and sometimes if I remember in my teas, but generally I don't like the mint flavor in my teas. Then you might ask why I'm drying the herbs, but yeah, that's how it is. But I like them in cool drinks during the summer heat. Okay, now to the rosemary. Rosemary looks fine. It smells amazing. Just only a few dried leaves. I'll remove that from the lower part and then it will be ready for drying. Okay, and basil I'm gonna leave like that. If I spot any damaged leaves, I'll remove it while drying, but otherwise it looks okay. So now let's wait for a couple of hours for the water to just evaporate, and after that we'll start with the air drying process. Today I'm also planning to freeze some of the basil. I saw this in a video from another YouTuber and I thought it was a good idea to have some fresh basil at hand. Here is a damaged leaf. I'll remove that. Yeah, what I was saying was I'll also try to freeze some basil. Then I'll have access to some fresh basil. Yeah, not fresh, but still fresh and not dried basil. That's what I meant, from my freezer. So I just want to try that method. So it's basically mixing the basil leaves with some olive oil and freezing it. I'll just go over the basil leaves as well because yeah, there are some damaged leaves. Maybe it looks okay overall from a distance, but when you look closely, there are some damaged leaves. Who has been eating my basil? I don't know. So let's wait for a couple of hours and then I'll see you. Now the herbs are almost dry. The water has evaporated, I would say 90%. And I've also got the twine. So let us start drying them. So what I basically do is, first let us do the mint. I just keep a bunch of stems at the same height and tie it. For tying, I use this jute twine. You can also use elastic twine. So I would suggest that you tighten it as much as possible, because as they dry, they will shrink. They tend to loosen up. So it is better to tighten it right now so that they don't fall off. So yeah, that is how I tie it. Now let's cut a little bit off to hang them like this. So I'll show the hanging part in a bit, but yeah, this would be basically a bunch of the herb. Next, let us do the rosemary. Similar method. I keep all the stems at the same height and then tie it with the same twine. So that's rosemary. Next would be the basil. One more and the rest will freeze. I'm trying the freezing method for the first time, so I'll just start small and we'll try to use it and see if it is a success. So now we have all the basil, mint and rosemary to hang. So this is how it all looks. That's a lot of herbs I am going to have for this winter. And that's not the end of it. You can still harvest from them. I can keep drying them until fall, until they produce. Next, what we're going to do is I'm going to separate these leaves and keep them ready for freezing. So I'm just removing the leaf part alone, not even the stem that attaches to the main stem, because we just want the leaves, and I saw that that was better for freezing. And we also need to dry these mint flowers, and I'm going to do that in a basket. So instead of hanging them, I'll dry them separately. So let's get into drying. Drying in the basket, I have a normal basket here, and I'm going to lay a cloth inside. Just put these flowers separated out from each other so that they can dry. That's it for the basket method. So just occasionally move them to see if they are crumbly already, to see if it is dry, if there are no molds forming on it, just to give it some airflow. That's all we need to do with the basket method. But this method is mainly used for drying flowers or leaves separately. So that's the basket method. Now let's try to freeze the herbs. For that you need a bowl. Put all the basil in. The basil leaves that we separated out. First we need to mix in with olive oil. That's how I saw it. So pour some olive oil. And I'm going to go in with the hand to mix it. If you want, you can use any spoon, but I don't have the time for that. Okay, now it's mixed well with olive oil. This comes in handy also when we are making pesto. It already has olive oil. Next, I'm going to transfer into a Ziploc cover. Yeah, that's basically it. Let me wash my hands. So now just close the Ziploc cover. Squeeze in all the air out. And store this in the freezer. I'll let you know how this turns out, maybe when I use it. And if it is a success, I'll be freezing more of it. Next, I'll show you how I'm going to hang these herbs. So let's grab these. I'm going to tie them in a dark, cool place where there is no direct sunlight. If there is direct sunlight, then it will lose the fragrance and flavor quickly. For that, I'm choosing this coat hanger in our hallway. This space does not get any direct sunlight and we are anyway not using this, so I'll try to repurpose it. If you have a lot of variety of herbs, then also don't forget to tag them, otherwise they look all similar after drying. The herb should take 2 to 3 weeks to fully dry. Once it is dry, you can hear that crumbly sound and then store it in a dark, cool place for a longer shelf life. I like to store the dried herbs in glass containers. This is basil and oregano from previous year's gardens. So that is how I'm harvesting and preserving my herbs from my garden this year. I love growing herbs in my garden because it smells amazing, it tastes amazing, and it is also one of the easiest to grow in the garden. And preserving with such methods will let us enjoy the harvest a little bit longer than the growing season. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next. Bye and take care.